Welcome back to another episode of Timeout with Makali. I'm your host, Makali Pennycook, and we're coming off another great weekend of NFL Divisional playoff games, some sensational games over what happened this weekend. And today, I'm having a guest on the show today, my friend, Matt Goldman, who'll be on the show for this episode. We got plenty of games to discuss. Mahomes and the Chiefs, they advance. Are the refs saving them? The Lions laid an absolute goose egg in the playoffs against the Commanders. But was it their mistake that lost them the game, or was just Jaden Daniels just too good? The Eagles win a classic in the snow with Saquon giving a nuclear performance in the snow and Jalen Carter saving the game. Plus, and the biggest game of the playoffs of the weekend so far, these games, the Ravens and the Bills, Lamar crumbles again. But was it really his fault? Was it Lamar's 2 turnovers that lost him the game, or was it Mark Andrews' crucial drop and fumble in the fourth quarter? We will preview and predict the championship Sunday games this Sunday, who we think is going to advance to the Super Bowl in our matchup, and recapping the national championship game as Ohio State beat Notre Dame 34-23, our thoughts and what we ultimately think. And is the Big Ten now the new golden standard of college football over the SEC? We dive into other topics like Ben Johnson being hired as the head coach of the Chicago Bears. And stick around for our top 5 championship sports games. What do we think is our top 5 pro sports championship games in the world? Let's get into it. All right, so for my next guest and my official first guest of the show today, I have my friend Matthew Goldman, the one and only. Matt, give us a little intro. What are you up to these days? Yeah.
I mean, the big thing is I'm hoping, I'm praying, I'm doing everything in my power for a Buffalo Bills Super Bowl. That doesn't, and I know, okay, Kansas City, Josh Allen's 0-3 against the Chiefs, but that's okay. That's fine by me. Because you see last week, everyone doubted the Bills. They said they were too small, they were too weak, didn't have the aggression. Sean McDermott's nothing of a head coach compared to Harbaugh. The Bills won. The Bills won by 2 points, which, then again, a 2-point deficit isn't, okay, you didn't whoop Baltimore, but that's a win. A win's a win. Josh Allen, he didn't have stats that popped off the box score, but what he does for the game, what he does for the Bills, they have one other Pro Bowler on that team. That's Deion Dawkins, and Deion Dawkins had 14 holding penalties this year. So then again, Josh Allen and company, they're riding high, and you know, the Knicks are. Ugh, I don't want to talk about them right now. I think they're the biggest frauds in the NBA. As a Knicks fan,
You can't say anything about my Sixers either.
Yeah,
Sixers. We're awful.
Jeez, that's terrible. I mean, I honestly feel bad.
Once again, this is my friend Matt Goldman. Me and him actually go to the same college, William Patterson. Matt's a big time on the radio station. You guys can catch him out on 88.7 radio. Me and him actually do a college. We did a college football show the first semester, and now we're doing college basketball second semester.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
He's also on the network show. He's a big time sports fan, just like me, and I think he's really good with analyzing sports. And obviously, like you just heard him, he's a big time Bills fan. But we're discussing these games. Obviously, he first broke down the Bills game, but I want to discuss the Chiefs game first against the Texans. Travis Kelce turning back the wheels once again. I mean, 7 receptions, 117 yards, and a touchdown. But what happened in the game, everyone was discussing the Chiefs' penalties and their calls, helping them to their advantage. Do you think that the Chiefs are being held to an advantage when it comes to these calls? And is it unfair to the defense when you're playing against Mahomes and the Chiefs?
I mean, that Texans defense, for starters, is one of the best defenses in football. Derek Stingley, Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson. But I think, personally, the NFL should investigate into this referee fugaziness with the Chiefs because it's a little ridiculous. Every time Mahomes gets hit, the slightest, there's a roughing the passer. We've seen holds. We've seen unnecessary roughnesses just on teams, and it's not even that bad. Like, for example, Bills-Ravens game this weekend. Ed Oliver was tackling Lamar Jackson out of bounds after he ran for like 15 yards. The Bills fans didn't want the refs to throw a flag. They didn't throw a flag. If it was Pat Mahomes, there'd be 3 flags, and the ref would throw his hat off. So It's a little ridiculous. Chiefs, they're the juggernaut of the AFC. They're the juggernaut of all the NFL. If you want to beat the best, you have to play up to their standards, and that means holding the football longer than them. We saw the Ravens and the Bills do a good job in their game, respectively, holding on to the football as long as possible. And I think the Bills want a chance to be in Kansas City. They got to hold on to that football more.
Yeah, I would totally agree. I think, the Chiefs, they're the gold standard of the AFC, the gold standard of the NFL. And I would agree, my Eagles have been, held to one of these penalties before in the Super Bowl game. But that's just the beauty of being, a dynasty. You're held to an advantage with the refs. And if you want to beat them, you got to still beat them. I don't like, the Texans players, whining and crying after the game. I would love for you to go out there and score more touchdowns.
You got to man up, essentially.
If you want to beat the best, you have to beat them. If you want to beat them, you got to beat them and not complain. See, that's my issue. How about you score more touchdowns? How about that? How about you do less complaining and maybe not have a 10-minute drive in the third quarter and then have go for it on 4th and 10 at your own 50-yard line? How about that? How about you just score more touchdowns than the other team and try and stop them instead of actually crying for calls? Because to me, you're losing all respect to me.
Yeah, Will Anderson. I like Will Anderson as a player, but when you go out and say the refs lost us the game,
yeah, that's just ridiculous.
That just loses all the respect for the game. And if we're looking at it from a statistical standpoint, Andy Reid outcoached the heck out of DeMeco Ryans.
He did.
And DeMeco is a great head coach. I think he's one of the top young head coaches in football. But Andy Reid just shows time and time again that he has the resume and the repertoire to be the best head coach ever.
Yeah. I mean, before even Kansas City, he had this reputation of being like a choker, especially in Philly.
Yeah.
And even before he even had Mahomes, when he blew that 20-3 lead to Marcus Mariota of all quarterbacks, he's had that reputation, but once you have that quarterback, everything can change for you. And yeah, he's one of the all-time great offensive play callers of all time. And yeah, he absolutely outcoached the Texans, and the Texans got outclassed because, calling for calls and not going out there and trying to beat them is ridiculous to me. But moving on to the next game, with the Commanders and the Lions, I got to ask this question. Was it more of the Lions' mistakes in this game that lost him the game, or was it Jaden Daniels' brilliance?
Jaden Daniels is arguably a top 5 quarterback in football right now. I would argue he is.
I think so.
As a rookie, this guy is playing insane. The Commanders have been just poverty for years. As they're in the NFC East with your Eagles, you would understand. They are poverty. Them and the Giants are fighting for 3rd and 4th every single year. But the Commanders showed this year that they are unbelievable. And not a lot of people are giving credit to Dan Quinn. Dan Quinn went to the Super Bowl before with Atlanta. And now Dan Quinn's about to I'm not saying he will, but there's a shot that Dan Quinn could take the Washington Commanders to the Super Bowl in year 1. But Jaden Daniels, he has all the guys around him. Terry McLaurin is arguably a top 10 wide receiver in football. Finally getting his quarterback, Daniels, McLaurin, but you don't have too many stars around them. You have Brian Robinson, De'Ami Brown, Zach Ertz. The offensive line, they lost a big piece in Sam Cosmi. He's out for the year with the torn ACL after the Lions game. But that defense, just so many good players. Jonathan Allen. Is Allen hurt?
I believe he's back.
It's either him or Deron Payne. I view them as the same person.
They're both playing. Yeah, they're back.
Frankie Louvu, Jeremy Chin, Mike Santrill, the rookie from Michigan, had 2 interceptions. I mean, Washington on both sides of the ball played outstanding. Ben Johnson didn't want to go there last year. Ben Johnson thought it was ran by basketball guys like Magic Johnson and Bob Myers. Okay, it's just not going to work. They may have made a mistake.
Yeah, I think, I think it was more of the Lions' mistakes, honestly, but I'm not trying to discredit Jaden Daniels. I think he's the truth. I think he's a bona fide superstar in this league. As a rookie, he's having the greatest rookie season we've probably ever seen. But the Lions' mistakes, in these playoff games, it's shown that you cannot turn over the ball. And if you turn over the ball, it's hard to overcome and win these games. Jared Goff had 3 turnovers in the first half. 3.
And Jared Goff got absolutely leveled. And he
Yes.
never looked the same for the rest of the game.
Right. And he had that bad pick six, sailed the receiver. The second one, that was the second one. The first one, fumbling it in the red zone. You can't do that. The third one, you're in field goal range right before halftime, turning it over right there. No points. And the Commanders get the ball in the first half. You can't, in the second half, you can't do that. You can't turn over the ball in these games. So I think, and then Ben Johnson, brilliant play caller. I'm happy that he got the job in Chicago yesterday. But you cannot, with the season on the line, you cannot call a reversed a trick play with your receiver throwing a pass in the fourth quarter.
It makes
You
no
can't do it.
sense. Are you
You
trying to
cannot
lose
do
the
it.
game? It's
Yeah.
ridiculous. Listen, I love Ben Johnson. I like what he does when he gets everyone eats in Ben Johnson's offense.
Mm.
You have Penny Sewell and Dan Skipper getting an opportunity to touch the football. Like, what other offensive play
Right.
caller does that?
Right.
But the thing is, I saw a thing recently. Aaron Glenn's no doubtly going to be hired by someone, whether it's the Jets, whether it's New Orleans. I was listening to the fan today, and they claim Aaron Glenn is going to leave the building, the Jets head coach today.
Yeah.
So does the Super Bowl window kind of tighten a little bit? Because I don't know if you could win a Super Bowl with Jared Goff.
I don't think so either. I've been saying that he's a scheme quarterback. I think you need good
I
players.
think he's a little above that scheme. I think there's the Brock Purdy, who's obviously the system quarterback.
Yeah.
I think anyone above that Purdy level has a shot to win it. I thought Goff had a shot, but now there's no Ben Johnson next year. I believe a lot of the skill position coaches, quarterback coach, running back coach, wide receiver coach, we don't know what's going to happen with them. I believe Antoine Randall L is the receiver coach there in Detroit. He may be the offensive coordinator next year.
Potentially. I think they might. They're definitely gonna elevate somebody. I don't think they're gonna hire somebody outside of the building.
I think it's gonna be an organization hire.
It's gonna be a promotion job for sure. I think potentially I can't find it. I can't remember his name, but maybe potentially the linebackers coach of the Lions might get the defensive coordinator.
I heard that. I heard he would be going with Aaron Glenn though.
Oh, the Lions lose some. They're gonna be losing some pieces on that staff for sure.
I mean, but you got to give a lot of credit to Jaden Daniels, but that defense is so banged up. Aiden Hutchinson would have won deep boy unanimously this year.
That's what.
Aiden Hutchinson's one of those talents where you see rarely at the edge rusher position. There's Myles Garrett coming out of college, and there was Aiden Hutchinson. I get Travon Walker was picked above him. People love Travon Walker's potential, but that guy's kind of a bum. Let's be honest here.
Yeah, the Jaguars are just
for first overall.
I would have hired Aiden Hutchinson any other draft with those two would go number one. I want to say this. I think I had the Lions a little bit on like fraud. They weren't fraud watch, but I had that little of a question mark and a pause with them with the Super Bowl because after when you guys played them, right? I believe week 15, when you guys boat raced them offensively.
Great game.
And they had so many guys defensively, so many guys getting hurt in that game, so many players out in that game. Yeah. It's like now, after that game, they had to be able to score 30 plus points for even to have a chance to win. Because the rest of their games, you saw them against San Fran, they had to score 40 to beat them. Against Minnesota, but Sam Darnold's terrible, they had to score 30 to beat them.
I wouldn't say Sam Darnold's terrible. The guy had, Darnold's going to start somewhere next year, whether it's Minnesota, whether it's the Raiders, whether it's the Giants, for God's sakes.
He collapsed in those final two games, though.
He may have been that scheme in Minnesota.
Yeah, he
It's
collapsed.
impossible to fail with Jefferson, and when Hawkinson came back healthy towards the end of the year, Jordan Addison, Aaron Jones, and the list goes on.
Yeah, but as I was saying, like they had to score at least 30 plus points to win a game because they play so much man coverage and they blitz that they're gonna get carved because there's so many guys out. I mean, I'm watching the game. Kendall Vildor is their number 2 corner.
Kendall Vildor.
And
that's Georgia Southern legend, Kendall Vildor. Madden 25 legend.
And their number 1 outside player also to Kendall Vildor, who you're just saying, is a rookie cornerback in Terry Arnold.
Arnold, to credit, the guy was a top, what was he?
Yeah, but this is the playoff.
When you're going one-on-one with Terry McLaurin, this guy will embarrass you. It doesn't matter if Terry and Arnold's story's cool or... you saw after the game, Terry and Arnold went on Madden and put up 100 points on the Commanders.
I'm not saying that Terrion is bad. I'm just saying he's a rookie. He's a rookie cornerback. He's not gonna like shut down a rookie.
Mike Saintrill shut them down. He had 2 interceptions.
I understand that, but I'm not saying he's not gonna. If you had to say Terrion Arnold against Terry McLaurin 1-on-1, who's winning? A rookie Terrion Arnold against a seasoned vet Terry McLaurin, who's winning?
Pro Bowl Terry McLaurin. I'm taking
Pro
Terry
Bowl,
McLaurin.
Pro Bowl Terry McLaurin.
To your point, because I know you're an Eagles fan here. Terry McLaurin goes 1-on-1 with Quinyon Mitchell.
Quinyon Mitchell is a different beast from Terrion Arnold though, and he proved that he
I would take Terry McLaurin 1-on-1 with Quinyon Mitchell. I take him 1-on-1 with Cooper DeJean.
I don't know. Cooper, I love Cooper, but I don't know. In the slot, I don't know. They may move him to the slot in the championship game, but we'll get into that.
Yeah, because Quinyon got hurt.
I think he's good to go though. They said he might be good to go. He's fine, hopefully. But as I was saying, like, and Brian Branch getting hurt in that game, right? They had so many guys out. It was
Amik Robertson broke his arm.
Yeah, I mean, they had so many guys getting hurt. It's like they had to play offensively. They had to play perfect, and they didn't play perfect in the first half. And they played catch up the whole game. You can't play catch up in the playoff game. I'm just sorry. You're expecting to win. It's not going to happen.
But you know what's funny now? Since Washington is in the conference championship, the team with the longest drought in the conference championship standpoint is the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, disgrace. They're a disgraceful franchise. I mean,
and they're going to end up hiring their offensive coordinator. Was it Schottenheimer?
Yeah, I saw that. Brian Schottenheimer.
That's ridiculous. That is absolutely blasphemy for me.
Jerry Jones is an absolute disgrace to the NFL football league now. And
every year in and out because Jerry's going to play fucking Jerry's World.
Jerry in the 90s was a fantastic, fantastic.
Yeah, when you have Troy Aikman, Emmitt Smith, and Michael Irvin, it's kind of impossible to fail.
But now he's a disgrace. He's a disgrace to the Cowboys. Disgrace. But to have the Commanders in year one with Jayden Daniels go to the conference championship and the Cowboys with their arch rival, the Eagles, and them two playing in a conference championship game, and they had the longest drought, you're a disgrace. But moving on to the next game and talking about my Eagles, go Birds, by the way. We beat the Rams 28-22 in an instant classic, in my opinion.
I think Jared Verse gave you guys the fuel to the fire there. Because you guys played very, very weak against Green Bay.
Yeah, I'm going to get into all of that. Saquon, he went off for 200 yards, and he had 2 long touchdowns. Jalen Carter is, in my opinion, emerging as a superstar.
He's emerged as a top 5 defensive tackle in football.
Yeah, for sure. I think he's the best one, in my opinion.
Jones, and then Cam Hayward. Carter
was all pro. He was all pro and Pro Bowler, and he's only in his second season.
Was Jalen Carter an all pro?
He was.
I knew Cam Hayward was.
He was. Jalen Carter was an all pro this year.
Carter?
I believe so. Chris Jones.
I could have sworn it was Chris Jones, but I would still take Chris Jones over Jalen Carter. I'd take Cam Hayward. I would take Jalen Carter for the future, but right now, if I want to win a football game, I'm taking Cam Hayward because that guy does. He anchored that Steelers defensive line. You could argue TJ Watt. TJ Watt was hurt.
After what Jalen Carter did to that Rams offensive, the game-saving sack and the fumble?
Here's another guy. Zach Allen from Denver. I would have him and Jalen Carter very close to one another because what he's done on that Broncos defensive line this year doesn't even show. Dexter Lawrence. You can't forget about Sexy Dexy. Vita Vea.
I'm just saying.
I don't think Jalen Carter's number one just yet. But there's so many guys in that tier with Hayward, Jones, Vita Vea, Dexter Lawrence, Zach Allen, where Jalen Carter fits into that mold. You could order it any way you want it, but I don't think he's number one yet. That's just your bias showing.
Okay, well, just hope if Jalen Carter is in the Super Bowl against your Bills and he gets sacked, I'm screaming in your face.
Dude, Osiris Torrance and David Edwards are going to lock his ass up.
Food, McDonald's. That is a large fry, Big Mac with large fries and a Diet Coke.
Edwards, Osiris Torrance, and Connor McGovern have allowed 0 sacks this year.
0. Because Josh Allen is running for his life every game, every play.
Doesn't matter. When you have some of the best protection in football, it does not matter. It creates dividends for Allen to go out into the right side. You could run quarterback power. You could run these quarterback design runs. He could break out of these sacks.
All right. Well, anyways.
I'm not denying Jalen Carter's incredible talent, but watch what you're saying.
All right. Well, anyways. Okay, that may have been my bias, but you can tell that the guy is absolutely incredible.
He's a star.
I think
The
he's a
fact he
star in the
fell to
making.
pick number 9 is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, another great addition of Howie Roseman's long career resume into the Hall of Fame. But I mean, to be able to save the game for the Eagles offense, having the sack, the late game sack, the fumble, creating so much pressure and havoc against that Rams offensive line, and especially Saquon Barkley, the best running back in the National Football League, as that's not already established. He won this game for the Eagles though. Had those two long runs, and I have a little bit of some concern with our offense just a little bit. But there's two things that can be true. One, the passing game needs to be better, in my opinion, for us to win a Super Bowl. I think this team is capable enough to win you a Super Bowl. But I think that we can be a whole lot better than what we're playing right now. I think that, having an elite running game and an elite defense can absolutely win you a Super Bowl. It's been proven back then that was the success. You have a superstar running back and you have a great defense. It's hard not to win a Super Bowl like that. And back then, but now since the rules have changed and the league has changed, you have to be able to have a superstar quarterback that can get you there with his arm.
I just don't know if Jalen Hurts is that level of quarterback where he win you a Super Bowl.
I think I would disagree. I think
He got there once. We've seen other quarterbacks. We've seen guys like Matt Ryan, Jared Goff get to the Super Bowl, but they
right,
kind of have such a good support system. Jalen Hurts arguably has. You have 4 Pro Bowlers on that offensive line. 3, I guess, because Mailata was snubbed or Lane.
heavily.
That was ridiculous.
Heavily.
But I'm going to count it. Cam Jurgens, Landon Dickerson, and then Lane Johnson and Jordan Mailata. Mekhi Becton is still one of the up-and-coming guys. And I wouldn't say up-and-coming, but he's, there.
He had a bad game on Sunday. But yes, he has been.
But Becton is still a serviceable guard.
He was
A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith. You have, I guess you could say, Jahan Dotson, whatever. What a disappointment he's been. You have Saquon Barkley, who's
the Eagles' passing game is really. I don't think Jahan Dotson's a bad player.
I think if he had a serviceable year, he'd have 400 to 500 yards. I think he's under 200 regular season yards.
I think the Eagles' passing game has 3 targets: AJ, Devontae, and Goddard. I don't really think that Dotson. I think Dotson's a good player. I think he's.
What about Grant Calacentra, or what the hell his name is?
Calcaterra? He fills in when Dallas is not there, when he's not playing. I think those are the 3 targets in the passing game. But as I was saying, I think 2 things can be true. Yeah, the passing game needs. I just think that our concepts are terrible. They're not helping out Jalen, because where are the simple plays for the team, for him to get into a rhythm? Like, I'm watching the film breakdowns and whatnot. It's like the receivers are running 20 yards downfield, right? And nobody's open. And Jalen's not going to turn over the ball. He doesn't want to turn over the ball. So he hesitates and he's holding on to the ball and trying to make something out of it. Well, I would like him to live for another down and not take a sack, because what he does is he holds on to the ball, right? Because no one's open. He doesn't want to force it into a turnover, and he takes the sack. I would love for him to live for another down and throw it away or take off with his legs, right? But where are the concepts and the plays to make it simple for him and get into a rhythm? Because once he gets into a rhythm, I'm telling you, once he's hot, we've seen it. We've
seen it, but it's not at the peak of where it's a Josh Allen, it's a Lamar, it's a Patty, it's a Joe Burrow.
Too. I think he outplayed Mahomes in that Super Bowl. I really do.
So
I think he was one penalty call away from winning that game. And that year,
I would agree with you on that one.
He was an MVP candidate player, an all-pro quarterback, right? Pro Bowl quarterback. We have shown
that. I mean, the NFC quarterbacks are so weak. I think anyone can be a Pro Bowler in that conference.
Right, but it doesn't matter. He was. So, but the thing is, right, he has shown in this league that he can do it. When they questioned him in the passing game, when we watched that game in your dorm after the Panthers game, right, all the passing game, A.J. Brown and the locker room, and after the game, whatnot, they questioned his ability to pass, and we played the Steelers, he lit them up. He has shown that he can do it. So I get sick and tired of people saying, like, well, he's the weak link, he's this and that. but all he does is wins. All he does is win this league. You mentioned Matt Stafford, and you mentioned these other NFC quarterbacks
We
who
take
had
Matt
great.
Stafford over Jalen Hurts.
I'm sorry, not Matt Stafford. Matt Ryan, who you mentioned, Matt Ryan before, and these other NFC quarterbacks who've made the Super Bowl and had great years. But how many can you say have been to two NFC Championship games in 4 years? One away from two Super Bowl appearances.
I think a lot of it is Howie Roseman is an outstanding general manager. That guy should be, when it's all said and done, Howie Roseman will be in Canton. How he builds that team is unbelievable. The Eagles could be contenders for years, but there's something in the back of my head that says Jalen Hurts fits that system. I'm not saying that he can have success somewhere else, but Hurts is kind of a system guy in that. If you put him on a team like Jacksonville, I think Hurts would struggle.
Anybody would struggle. That team is terrible.
I mean, that team is terrible. You have Brian Thomas, Christian Kirk.
Yeah, but no.
Gabe Davis, Bills legend Gabe Davis.
That structure is awful. They have a horrible organization, horrible franchise, and they have old players that they always go after in free agency, aging players.
How about this? I think if you put Jalen Hurts in Buffalo,
I disagree.
I don't see him getting. I don't think
this year. I think they. Yeah, I think this year.
Actually, maybe this year because
they're not that very talented. But years previously with like Steph and Gabe Davis, I think they made the playoffs.
But Jalen Hurts, he's up and down for me. I think he's an outstanding running quarterback. I think the guy could break tackles as a quarterback, probably better than anyone else not named Josh Allen. But what concerns me is if that passing game is weak, it's going to be a rough time. Because that Commanders' run defense is solid.
No, it's terrible. They're ranked awful. The Lions ran all over them. Their stats.
But you haven't had a healthy interior defensive line all year. Now it's back with Deron Payne and John Allen. You have Frankie Louvu coming down. You have Jeremy Chin coming from the safety spot, making clutch tackles. You have the players. But Joe Witt and that defense for Washington needs to listen. Saquon is the best running back in football. Agree or disagree?
Yes, agree.
That defense and Joe Witt are going to have to make these defensive audibles and pick what they're doing with their corners and their safeties. If they want them to roll down, do they want them to stay back in these situations when they run the football?
You know, it's easier said than done, right?
Because it's very easier said than done.
Because
but a lot of also comes to the blocking schemes. The Eagles, are they going to pull? Are they going to be in pass protect?
You're not the first person to say, well, this defensive coordinator is going to have to do this and do that. It's easier said than done because we have the best running scheme in the National Football League. We have the best running game coordinator and offensive line coach in the National Football League in Jeff Stoutland, right? We have an elite offensive line, right? Are they not the best in the league? I think they are.
I think it's Baltimore and them very close. I would give the edge to Philadelphia.
Yeah. It's easier said than done. And Saquon has had very good games against the Commanders this season. And if not, Jalen did not get concussed in that game, we would have boat raced them.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt. But this injury, this concussion, Hurts seems fine. But in the back of my head, it's kind of looming. Because there's no way you guys aren't going to win with Kenny Pickett or Tanner McKee. No, for sure. You can't win an NFC Championship with that.
Cannot win. And that's
but I think the Eagles are going to beat the Commanders. I love the story that Washington's had this year. But unfortunately, all good things come to an end.
I do agree with that, and it's coming to an end in Philadelphia. And especially, I'm telling you right now, if Josh Harris, the owner of the Washington Commanders, lists an NFC Championship trophy in Philadelphia, being the owner of the Sixers, I might yak. All over everywhere. I just might yak. But anyways, it's not happening. And you're right. All good things must come.
Listen, there's a slim shot. I'd give the Eagles upwards to an 80% chance to do it.
Yeah, I think
I am so confident in Philadelphia in this matchup.
We haven't, and that's the beauty thing is we haven't played our best game yet in the playoffs. I think this is the game where we play the best offensively, defensively, and special teams wise. But moving on to the next game, that's his team, the Buffalo Bills. They beat the Ravens 27-25. was another kind of the snow game. Snow was on the ground.
Nobody plays better in the snow than the Winter Soldier.
Playoff Lamar struck again.
There's no excuse now. You're in year 7, Lamar. No excuse.
I want to know something that a lot of people aren't really noticing. I think the Bills' run game is unstoppable right now.
James Cook is a top 10 running back in the league.
Yeah, I think their run game as a whole with him and Josh, it's kind of unstoppable.
But our offensive guards, O'Cyrus Torrence and David Edwards, are two of the most undervalued players in football. These guys are phenomenal, especially O'Cyrus Torrence in year 2 coming out of Florida. Our offensive tackles are insanely well in the run game as well. We have Deion Dawkins pulling. When do you see your left tackle pull? That's not often at all. These quarterback design runs with Josh, he was getting stuff. We saw Kyle Van Noy stop him behind line of scrimmage a couple of times. Van Noy's in year 14 now? Yeah. Props to him for having
a good year.
Oh, yeah, outstanding. If the AFC wasn't so edge rusher dominant.
Though the Ravens, they come up short again. Lamar said in his post-game presser after losing in the playoffs once again.
Enough with the potty mouth, Lamar. Have some professionalism. You're going up there and you're accounting for a loss and you're saying shit and fuck. Come on, really? That's not proving your point. You have no respect of the league if you're going to go and make a fool of yourself.
Yeah, I think Lamar, he's a phenomenal guy. Would love for him. I love the accountability, though. I love the accountability.
Yeah, and he's a leader. There's no doubt in that. He's one of the leaders on that Ravens team.
Yeah,
there's him and Roquan Smith.
You can't have turnovers in the playoffs. And, I'm a big Lamar fan. I wanted it more than anyone. I wanted more than anyone for him to win in this stage because he's had the narratives for the entire of his career of he can't do it in the playoffs. He crumbles in the playoffs. He shrinks in the playoffs every time. And those 2 turnovers, I'm like, come on, Lamar. I can't defend that. The first one the pick was bad. The fumble was bad.
It was a severe overthrow. And DeMar Hamlin, how about the storybook there? DeMar Hamlin strip sacks it, and Von Miller, who's 35 years old, runs down the field.
I know it was. You can't have those. You can't have that fumble. Just go to the ground. Just go down to the ground. Just take the sack and move on.
That's what quarterbacks want to do now, or the dynamic guys in the league, like the Mahomes, the Joshes, the Lamars. I feel like let's just be in agreement for one thing. I think the top 4 quarterbacks in football, there's no doubt. Josh Allen, Lamar, Mahomes, Burrow. There's no debating it.
Yeah, for sure. Those are the 4 elite quarterbacks in this National Football League. It's not even close.
But those guys want to extend every single play to the best of their abilities. We've seen the dumb mistakes they've made throughout years past and years prior. Even this year, we've seen some dumb mistakes out of them. But you cannot do that in a playoff game like this. That's one of the big things. You got to feel bad for Mark Andrews. That guy had a terrible.
And I was about to just ask you that question. Who do you think deserves the blame for this game? Is it Lamar with his 2 turnovers in the first half, or was it Mark Andrews?
I think if you are a tight end in the National Football League, tight ends don't fumble much. Tight ends are your big guys who have some of the best ball security in the league. They're big guys. They rumble down the field. Andrews got not strip sacked. Ball poked out by Terrell Bernard. Terrell Bernard is an average linebacker at best.
Right.
Bernard pokes it out, recovers it.
He just looks like a corner to me.
My brother said he thought Bernard was a corner. I was like, no,
he just looks like a corner.
Linebacker. It's a smaller linebacker. Yeah. And then the 2-point conversion, me and my grandpa, we're watching the game together. We're both standing up. We're ready. And we see Andrews is wide open towards the corner of the end zone, the front corner on the right side. And we're just like, no. And then he drops it. Mark Andrews drops the football. Listen, he shouldn't be getting the depth threats. He shouldn't be getting all the criticism because Mark Andrews is still a top 5 tight end in the league. The guy is a generation. I wouldn't say generational, but he's one of the best tight ends of our generation.
Yeah, I think he's one of the best Ravens tight ends of all time and receivers.
One of the best Ravens.
Yeah, one of the best Ravens of all time too. Yeah, it's
so
just
the guys should not be getting so much flack. Unfortunately, that's how the NFL is. If you make a bad play, everyone's going to be on you.
Yeah, I think that's just what the internet is now. But he's
and Andrews dropped the ball in, I believe, the first quarter as well.
Yeah, he did. It's just humans. Humans are humans. They make mistakes, and yesterday and Sunday just wasn't his day. But I want to say this. Lamar, I know he had those 2 bad turnovers, but he still pulled through. He had
Lamar
those two.
Jackson, he's incredible. I think Lamar Jackson is now that's someone I would say who's generational. You will never see a player like Lamar Jackson ever
80,
again. The way
88,
he the way he
88.
constructs the game as a passer and as a runner, Lamar Jackson is unbelievable. We saw it in his time at Louisville. I was a little kid watching Louisville football games, and you see the guy with the last name Jackson running down the field 85 yards for a touchdown, taking down top 5 teams in the nation. Then he falls to number 32 in the draft. NFL teams wanted Lamar to try out as a wide receiver or a running back. The critics called him a running back. That's what people refer to Lamar Jackson as, a running back. Lamar Jackson has pushed down that narrative. He's a 2-time MVP. If he wins his 3rd this year, I don't personally think so. But that's just biasy. You could laugh all you want. I think Josh Allen's the MVP.
We're just wrong. And Lamar's going to win.
In what way? Josh Allen has put on that Superman cape time and time out again. When you have 1 Pro Bowl teammate, 0 other All-Pro teammates on the offensive side, defensively they have nothing. So the defense, probably bad Rich and company, just trying to get them in every game. Josh Allen's the MVP.
I think your bias is showing.
The MVP is not a statistical award, and we've seen it time and time again. If the MVP was a statistics award, Joe Burrow would be holding the trophy up.
I think your bias is showing a little bit.
No. It's the regular
season. You got me with Jalen Carter, and I'm getting you here with Josh Allen.
13 wins.
Against a terrible division. Lamar had a harder division.
He had a bad year. Pittsburgh fell apart throughout the end of the season, and Cleveland is Cleveland.
The Jets, the Patriots, the Dolphins.
Okay.
All 3 teams missed the playoffs. And they won the division in November. They won the division in November.
I think that's the earliest the team's ever won it.
Yeah. I remember. I'm like, wow, the division's already over for them? For goodness.
Because I remember waiting to week 16, week 17 for the Bills to clinch playoffs. It was week 12. I'm like, we're already in. I'm just like, oh, wow, that's fun.
We won 14 games and we won the division by week 17. But I think, Lamar, I think that 88-yard drive, I think, he showed up. But, those 2 turnovers is hard to overcome. But, he made up for it, I think, in my opinion, but it just wasn't enough. And they're going home. They're going to be in Cancun. They're going to be watching the Bills next week. And
they're in the room for the Bills. We saw Marlon Humphrey say it today. Marlon Humphrey went out and tweeted that someone needs to beat the Chiefs, whether it's the Bills, whether it's the 2 teams in the NFC.
See, I don't see what I hate is why are you rooting for a team that just beat you? What are you doing?
Because they're suckers. Marlon Humphrey.
What the heck? If a team just beat me and my player dropped the ball, I ain't rooting for you. Are you crazy?
Not at all.
Are you crazy?
To an extent, I think the Bills were a little bailed out.
Could you imagine if we played the Giants and say, I don't know, Dallas Goedert dropped the 2-point conversion and the Cowboys are off, coming off 3 Super Bowl appearances and they won back-to-back? And I'm saying, come on, Giants.
All right, well,
go beat them. I'm like, what? No. No, I'm just saying as a hypothetical. I'm not rooting for you if you just beat us. Are you crazy? No.
I wouldn't want to root for if I was
hell no.
I wouldn't want to root for either players. You got lost to the Chiefs last year in the conference championship. Now you lose to the Bills in the divisional. I'm sitting there. I'm rooting for anyone that's not in my conference.
All right. So, and we want to move to the next segment, and especially keeping it in the NFL, the Championship Sunday preview and predictions. And obviously, I want to start off with the better game, in my opinion. Part 3. This is I don't know how many games these 2 teams. Part 3 of the playoffs with Chiefs and Bills.
Okay, I thought you were going to say Eagles Commanders as you guys.
No.
This year. I was going to be like, what are you smoking, dude?
No. This is part 3 of Josh and Patrick, the modern day quarterback rivalry.
Part 4.
This is in the playoffs? Really?
Yeah, it's the 4th time they play.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the 20.
Played last year.
Yeah, and last year in 20.
And T-Bass decides to miss a kick, and I'm
played so many times I forgot.
Yeah, and every time's the same result until this weekend. Josh and company are taking down the Chiefs in Arrowhead. There's been very rare teams to go into Arrowhead and beat them. We've seen the regular season. Well, I'm sorry if I'm interrupting you.
You're right, but before I even ask you, you go into your take, because I know who you're obviously taking, is this the best quarterback rivalry ever?
I think, honestly, if we're being realistic here, I have it at number 2 all time.
Yeah, I
All
would
time.
agree.
And by the time in 10 years, when we look back at this conversation, we're going to be laughing at ourselves putting this at 2 because it's going to be
No.
1.
Yeah, I could potentially
Josh
be one.
Allen versus Pat Mahomes. These guys have the utmost respect for each other. The only one I'd put above is Peyton Brady.
Mm-hmm. I think they're going to pass them at some point.
Wait, absolutely. Because once Josh starts winning, that's when it starts getting fun.
Yeah. And that's what happened.
Because everyone said in the offseason, us the worst team the Bills have had in years. You lose Stephon Diggs. You lose Jordan Poyer. You lose Tre'Davious White. Micah Hyde didn't get signed by anyone, but he's not on the team. Matt Milano got hurt in the preseason. Gabe Davis is gone. Mitch Moore's left. And they completely turned the switch. And a lot of credit goes to Sean McDermott and Bobby Badich. But Joe Brady, as our offensive coordinator, has done wonders for Josh's career. We saw once Dable left, Josh got a little iffy. I don't want Joe Brady to leave. If Joe Brady leaves, Josh may be a little iffy to start the year.
And I don't think it matters. Josh is just that guy.
Josh Allen.
He's just Josh Allen.
Now, a lot of people, Lamar is more popular than Josh. Mahomes is more popular than Josh. But Josh Allen gets this credit. We've seen, I've watched TikTok edits saying, Josh Allen, save us. You can't really hate a team that's won. If Chiefs win their 4th in the Mahomes era, it's going to be hard for me to hate them. I just have so much utmost respect for them. Because that franchise has done so many things.
I almost have this nickname for Josh because he just plays like a black person. I've never seen like a white quarterback that tall and athletic be able to jump over people.
Not at all.
For like 80 yards. I've never seen a white quarterback do that. So I almost call him like Jeremiah Allen, like give him a black name because he just plays like a black guy. I've never seen like a white quarterback jump over people, run this fast, and throw that far.
I remember, I think it was like 6th or 7th grade for me. In my living room, the Bills are 0-2. We lost the Ravens and the Chargers. And it was week 1 and 2. We play the Vikings. We're 17.5-point underdogs going into Minnesota. And Josh Allen hurdles Anthony Barr while we're up 10.
Yeah, I remember.
And I am losing my mind. That's where I realized that, listen, Jim Kelly is the best quarterback in franchise history. But if Josh Allen wins the Super Bowl,
they'll build a statue.
The city of Buffalo would explode.
He'll never have to pay for another meal ever again in Buffalo.
Josh Way, Josh Allen Town. They may honestly have a picture of Josh Allen everywhere you look in Buffalo.
That's what happened with Nick Foles. Nick Foles has a statue, and he'll probably never have to buy another meal in Philadelphia ever again.
No, but I wouldn't.
But who is winning? I don't even have to ask you who's winning this game. What is the score prediction, and what do you think is going to happen in this game?
34-31. This is going to be an old-fashioned Josh versus Mahomes. This is going to be another game where we see 2 excellent quarterbacks go at it. When I mean excellent, I mean these guys are Hall of Famers, no doubt, when their career ends. What?
I'm going to have to take the other side in this one. I think.
Of course you see, like, Josh Allen and company, they're the Jedis, and you're the Sith Lord with Pat Mahomes.
Well, because with the Chiefs and Pat, it's like, they beat you. You guys always beat them in the regular season. We do beat them in the regular season. There's no doubt. When it's the postseason, they always have your number. It's just time and time again. They know how to win in the postseason, in the playoffs. I mean, I don't know. I remember asking you this when off cameras about how you felt about the 13 seconds and not touching the ball. Like, if I was a fan of the opposing team on that, I would have cried.
You're acting like I didn't. I broke my phone. I cried like a little bitch for fucking 5 days. I didn't go to school the day after. I was so upset over it. I think that Bills team had the best shot of winning a Super Bowl of any Bills team.
Yeah, I think Pat has limited a couple Super Bowls from Josh. That's for sure.
Yeah. I think especially that year, and I think if the Chiefs beat the Bills again, I think this would be 2 years where Josh Allen was robbed of the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'm going with the Chiefs because I just think, first of all, they're home. It's the Arrowhead Invitation. And they always win these games. They know how to win these games. And they have arguably the 2 best coaches of all time, and Andy Reid, and the best coordinator of all time, in my opinion, with Spags. I think he's the best big game coordinator in the National Football League ever. And they're home.
Spags had a terrible Spagnuolo was a terrible head coach, but you put him as a
Yeah,
coordinator, and this
but
guy is unbelievable.
he shut down Brady twice and shut down Kyle Shanahan twice. I mean, we cooked up against him, but
All
like
right, that's just you tooting your own horn here with Jalen Hurts.
yeah, but he's the best big game coordinator in the National Football League, and he's gonna be prepared for this game. I just think it's just gonna come. I just know the script and I know how it's gonna go. It's gonna be like
Do you think it goes down to the end though?
I do. I think it's gonna be like 20.
Harrison Butker.
Yeah, it's gonna be 23-24, right? And they're at like the 40, and Pat like completes a pass to like Pacheco in the flat, and
I just imagine seeing it right now, and I can imagine
Ed Oliver
the
hits
hole
him
that's
in
going
the
to
head.
be in this.
Ed Oliver hits him in the head, 15 yards, and they're inside the 20. Game over. I just think that's what's going to happen. That's what's going to happen.
But if the Bills win this game, let's just think about the positive out of this. I get all the negative with
if they win this game, Buffalo's going to explode.
And I think if they win the Super Bowl, I think the world explodes.
Yeah. Next
so
game.
Doubted into this year. I just want to put that out there. You lose 6 of your top 10 players, and you go out and win the Super Bowl. That franchise will run.
Next game, the NFC Championship game, the first game at 3:00. The Commanders travel to Philadelphia and play my Eagles. Go Birds. Can Jaden Daniels deliver one more upset and lead his team to Super Bowl? I know you already answered this question.
I think Jaden Daniels is a better quarterback than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
Fortunately, and that's how the division between them two is going to go back and forth for the next upcoming years.
Yeah, definitely.
But unfortunately, all good things go to an end, as I previously mentioned. I don't see a rookie quarterback going to the Super Bowl.
I don't either. I think the Eagles, this is their best game, all three levels, offensively, defensively, and the special teams, and the passing game. This is where they haven't played their best game yet, and I think that's what they've been saving it, and I think this is the game where they say, you know what? We are the Philadelphia Eagles. We're the standard of the NFL. We're going to the Super Bowl. So you have Bills Eagles in New Orleans on February 9th. I have the rematch, Chiefs Eagles.
You just picked the most boring Super Bowl matchup in history.
I think it could go either way. The AFC Championship game can go either way, but I just know what the script is saying. I just think the Chiefs are going to win because they just have it's annoying, but like I just think it's going to happen.
It's absolutely annoying, but you have to have the utmost respect for Andy Reid and company because guy.
It's just Mahomes. It's just the inevitable. They're just inevitable. They're just inevitable. But I would be elated if it's Bills Eagles. Woo! I think the NFL would explode for that one.
I can't watch it with you. I'm going to go home to watch it.
Oh, I'm watching it alone too. I'm not watching the Super Bowl. I literally told last time the Eagles won the Super Bowl 2 years ago. I was telling my mom earlier this. I said I watched that Super Bowl watch party. Right? I'm never doing that again. If the Eagles are in the Super Bowl, I'm watching that alone.
It's but you know that feeling as your team's going in because we're both diehard fans for our franchise. Like you look at typical Buffalo Bills fan, you see my face. You look at typical Eagles fan, you see your face. You get that nervous feeling. You've got the gut in your stomach the whole time. You're nervous. You're freaking out. You keep pacing back and forth. Your hands start to shake a little bit. And it feels like every good play the opposing team has, it's a punch to your gut.
Oh my God. Don't even tell me. The last drive of the game for the Rams, I felt like I was going to have a heart attack. My heart was pounding like once. It was.
I wasn't as nervous for the 2-point conversion. Because I knew Josh and company would get it down the field goal position with a minute 30.
Man, yeah, and Saquon, and especially we being diehard fans too. Saquon's second run, the game ender, I blacked out when he got past the 40-yard line with nobody around him. I blacked out. I just screamed. I was screaming around my house. It was crazy, but I would be happy if it's Bill. I don't care who we play, but if it's Bills Eagles, I would
have a lot of fun watching that.
That one would be especially a great game for the NFL. And moving on to the next segment, me and Matt, we talk a lot of college football. We did on campus, 88.1, 88.7 once again, our radio station in college. Ohio State, they beat Notre Dame 34-23. Ohio State made the all-time great bounce back after losing to their biggest arch rival in Michigan at the shoe. And is the Big Ten the new standard in college football over the SEC?
No, not at all.
Ooh, okay.
I think in the Big Ten, you have Ohio State. Michigan will be good next year, so I'm counting Michigan in this. Oregon has never won a national championship.
And
Washington's
will
never
never
won a
lose.
national. No, Oregon's cursed. I don't think Nebraska will go back up to that standard. Am I Indiana? No. Sorry, there's no way. I love Kirk Signetti, but I'd laugh at you if someone told me they thought Indiana would take it all.
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
But am I missing any like the juggernauts in this conference? Michigan State, no. Rutgers, lol.
Yeah.
UCLA, cry me a river.
You,
Penn State wins the national championship. I would dye my hair Penn State, Nittany, navy blue.
but the thing is, though,
Not a shot.
I think two things can be true. I mean, yeah, I would agree the level of competition, right? But the SEC was weak this year, in my opinion.
SEC was weak, but
The top
Georgia and Texas were kind of banged up all year.
Georgia winning the SEC championship was great for them, but they did not look like a great team all season. Beck was the turnover-prone quarterback. Their offense stunk, and their defense was not the same as it was previously.
No, not at all. And then, listen, I know you're a Texas guy.
Yeah, hook 'em, by the way.
You know, Arch is going to come in there next year. I think the SEC is going to be really good next year. That's why I'm kind of in love with the idea that the SEC is going to run it next year. Maybe not this year, but I just want to point out, that was the most vocal I've ever seen Ryan Day. That guy was so happy, so excited. Ryan Day, all the criticism he got, people wanted Ryan Day fired. His total, I think he has like under 10 losses for his career. It's like 9 or 10.
It's crazy.
And people want him to get fired. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Are you fucking delusional? Ryan Day, he's not this amazing. He's no Kirby Smart, no Nick Saban, no Urban Meyer, but Ryan Day won a championship. And you got to give congratulations to that team. Ohio State, listen, they spent the NIL so wisely because they built around that team. You went out and got your quarterback in Will Howard. And I don't think Will Howard's a game changer by any means, but you got Quinshon Judkins to pair with Travion Henderson. Listen, if I had to split a backfield, I'd be pretty pissed off. But these guys counterbalance each other all year. Jeremiah Smith is the best freshman player, true freshman, not redshirt, true freshman player we've ever seen in college football.
I would agree with everything you said.
Emeka Ibuka, Carnell Tate,
Yeah,
and that offensive line led by Donovan Jackson and Josh Simmons. I mean, come on. That offense is unreal.
What was Notre Dame thinking on that 3rd and 9, right? Before the 2-minute warning. What are you thinking blitzing and leaving Jeremiah Smith on an island?
I think it was a desperation play to try to get in it. Listen, Marcus Freeman is one hell of a head coach. I
love Marcus Freeman. Yeah.
I wish if Marcus Freeman wanted to go to the NFL and accept a job in the NFL, I think he should.
I would agree.
I think honestly, I would take him over some of the hot name candidates in this year's coaching carousel.
He had a hot name in the candidacy.
Yeah,
but he's one of the same.
You kind of see that occasionally. Like we saw Matt Campbell from Iowa State a couple of years back. Yeah. I was convinced that Matt Campbell wasn't going to get a job in the NFL.
Yeah, as even with Sark. Sark had a couple coaching interest in the NFL, but I think Ryan Day absolutely had the true lock-in moment after that Michigan loss. He went from not being able to walk in the streets of Ohio to being able to never have to buy a meal again in Ohio.
That seems to be your favorite term, never having to buy a meal ever in the respective city.
Yeah, because you're
the truth is you're so beloved, but you talk about that defense. Listen, Riley Leonard had a great game. He showed to me where he's a top 7 quarterback in this year's draft class.
Ooh.
All right, hear me out. Cam Ward, Shador, Jackson Dart, Jalen Milroe, Dylan Gabriel. I feel like that's kind of the consensus 5. I put
Quinn in there. Quinn's in the draft.
I have Quinn 6, and then I'd put Riley Leonard. I'd put him above Will Howard. I think Riley Leonard. I'd put him above Curtis Rourke.
I think Will's a better passer, but Riley has more dynamic because he's a dual threat.
That's what you need to be in this generation. I'm not saying Will Howard's not a good rushing quarterback. Will Howard could lower his shoulder, put his foot down. But that's a great win for Ohio State. And next year, listen, Ohio State's not going to be as dominant right away because Julian Sayin, who I presume is going to start at quarterback, he's going to be a redshirt freshman, I believe. It's either going to be him or Tavion St. Clair, the true freshman, because Aaron Nolan's gone. Aaron Nolan transferred.
I think Sain's going to be the starter next year. I just have that.
It should be Julian Sayin, but it wouldn't surprise me if Tavion St. Clair comes in there and wins the quarterback battle.
Sinclair's really good, man. He's really good.
That guy. I thought Aaron Nolan was going to be the guy for Ohio State, but he's going to take a year and learn behind Lenore Sellers at South Carolina. Then, listen, Notre Dame, though, just the receiver, Jaden Greathouse.
He was balling. Woo! He was balling.
He's a fucking baller. Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love in the backfield. Those guys, especially Love, and both of them are going to be back next year. Both of them are going to be respectively very well.
Love
and it's going to be, I believe it's Steve Angeli is going to be the starter. It's either him or CJ Carr. I would preferably, I would go with Angeli because he's been in that system. It's going to be Angeli's turn. Because, listen, after Ian Book, it could have been Angeli. They get Sam Hartman. Then they go get Riley Leonard. They have to go, I think they go with their guy now in Angeli. And then that defense, Ben Morrison not playing in the championship. Ben Morrison's been out for so long. He's one of the shutdown corners in college football. Xavier Watts can't do it all. You really don't have a star on the defensive side outside Watts. The pass rush isn't as strong as championship level teams like Ohio State when you have Sawyer and JT. Do you know what I'm talking about? I can't pronounce his last name.
Tumalaya, something like that. I don't want to butcher the name.
Tumalanu.
Something like, but it's something with the two.
Yeah. And then the interior guy, Tylee Williams.
Their secondary, Ohio State's besides Caleb Downs, they're so undisciplined, though. It's like they draw like a holding call every time. Yeah.
And then Cody Simon, the linebacker, you just have players all over the field that can make the impact. And that's why Ohio State won the championship. Because Notre Dame did not have those players. Notre Dame had a great run. They took down Penn State. They took down Georgia. They beat Indiana, which I don't think that was a surprise. I think Notre Dame was going to have their way with Indiana anyway. But unfortunately, couldn't get it done in the big game. But there's a lot of optimism going to next year for Marcus Freeman. Now that you've been into a national championship, preseason-wise, they're going to be a top 5 team. After overcoming that loss against Northern Illinois. Northern Illinois is terrible. I just want to put it out there. They finished the year like
games is NIU.
8-5. Their only loss prior, was NIU. But it's going to be interesting to see what the Fighting Irish do next year. I can't wait to follow, and I can't wait to do the college football show. We're going to cover the whole year.
88.7 once again. Yeah, I think Ryan Day had and his team had one of the great all-time bounce backs. And Michigan fans and that fan base, they're so annoying on Twitter. Like, if you want to hang a banner that you beat them, congratulations. They ended up winning the national championship. And you never want to see your rival win a national championship. So go hang your banner, say you beat them. Congratulations, whoop-de-dang-do. Moving on to the next segment, going back to the NFL, the Bears, they hired Ben Johnson. And I got to ask, with them hiring Ben Johnson, do you think they can upstate the Bears franchise? Do you think he can upstate the Bears franchise, develop Caleb Williams, and bring them back to respectability in the NFC North?
I hope so, but the NFC North is so stacked. The Vikings are going to be good for a while. Green Bay is going to be good for a while. Detroit may fall off a little bit, but that division is so stacked. But Ben Johnson really could develop product. He could develop players. But first off, what needs to be addressed, I think there's a couple things offensively. That offensive line is terrible. I believe they're picking 10. They have to go offensive line. Whether it's Josh Simmons from Ohio State, Will Campbell from LSU. If Kelvin Banks falls, that's a home run pick.
Please take him.
Because that guy he can play on the interior and can play on the outside. The running back situation I believe DeAndre Swift's a free agent after this year.
He might be long term, but I don't know if he might. I don't think he fits the Ben Johnson running back, to be honest.
I don't think he fits it either.
Yeah.
I think DeAndre Swift could be on the move. Keep Rashawn Johnson as the 2. Keenan Allen's most definitely gone. I think Keenan Allen wants to contend.
Yeah, I was a little bit surprised with Ben Johnson going to the Bears, but
I thought it was going to be McCarthy. McCarthy.
Yeah, I thought so too, but I thought like Ben Johnson with the Raiders could have been something, he could have built his own team. They have some sort of like positives with Brock Bowers, a highly level elite top tight end in the league, and he's very young. He would have been able to pick his own quarterback.
I thought he was going to bring Hendon Hooker with him. That's what the reports were saying.
I think they would have. I think they would have drafted. I think he would have drafted a quarterback, or potentially could have signed one that fitted his mold, like potentially Sam Darnold,
like a Justin Fields kind of.
Yeah,
he could play around with Fields. That's the thing.
Right, exactly. With his playbook, and there's so many endless possibilities in his playbook. I thought maybe the Raiders, because he could build his team like how he wants to, and there's some sort of young pieces, and build a staff that can resemblize to Detroit and build success there. But with the Bears, too, they have some positive. They have, in my opinion, a franchise quarterback. Right? They have some.
I can't say he's a franchise quarterback right now. Just due to
not now, but long term, he's the quarterback. Long term, he's the quarterback. You have some receivers, DJ Moore, you just extended last offseason. Adunze, who's young. Keenan Allen, I don't know if they would bring him back. He's a little bit older, took a step back there. And, you can build the offensive line. You can get a running back. And you can build your staff and build respectability back to Chicago. Now, I think, in my opinion, there's a little bit of spin in the face of Detroit, because now they're going to have to be facing them.
They're facing twice a year.
Twice a year, and
but that defense also needs to get help too.
You're right, and he knows that building, and he knows Campbell's tendencies and his strategic planning, because they've been in the same building for a while. So yeah, I think it's kind of a spin in the face, but it's good to see the Bears finally hit a good hire.
I'm just happy Ben Johnson's not in the AFC. For me, I thought he was definitely going to be a Raider. I thought Mike McCarthy or Pete Carroll was going to be the Bears head coach. But listen, Ben Johnson is a home run hire. Whoever was going to get him, that's the top first time guy on the market.
Definitely.
It goes like Ben Johnson, first time guys. I'm excluding Vrabel, I'm excluding Flores. Ben Johnson, Aaron Glenn, and then like Liam Cohn and Joe Brady, and the list goes down really quickly.
Right. I just got to see if the Bears can do this thing, and I hope the GM, I forget his name. Oh my gosh.
Ryan Poles.
Ryan Poles, yes. I think he's been kind of like average as a general manager. He's had some good moves and some bad moves, like trading Chase Claypool for a second-round draft pick. That is horrific. And I hope him and Ryan Poles can find the right plan and future to build this team into a contending team in this division and in this conference.
Because Poles is he's a young and developing general manager, but the guy has got some good signings and good picks around the Chicago mold. So I think if you could pair them up, you have to give them some time. The Bears are probably not going to make the playoffs next year unless they have the Commanders like leap. They have to mold together, gel as a unit, gel as a team, figure out who you want where and where you want who. And Chicago will be in good standing with Ben Johnson. I can almost assure it.
Yes. Now, moving on to the NBA. They're a disgrace.
It's a disappointment. It's an absolute disappointment.
They're not even a disappointment. They're just a disgrace now.
I don't even think they're going to make the play-in.
They're not going to make anything because their star players won't play basketball.
Yeah, Embiid's a schmo. Paul George is just injury prone. Tyrese Maxey can't do everything by himself. McCain's hurt. You got a home run pick in Jared McCain, but he's just underutilized. I mean, he's so utilized where he's now out for the year.
And Nick Nurse has this obsession of playing Kyle Lowry.
I think those are just his guys. I think Nick Nurse needs to go after this year.
He's not a good coach anymore.
No, he had, I think, 2 good years in Toronto where they were really solid. And after that,
it was mediocre.
There's a reason why he's gone.
I think they got to fire Morey too. You just constructed a really bad team, and you put the franchise. You put the franchise in a bad spot by re-signing Joel Embiid to that extension, knowing that his body wasn't 100%, and knowing that he wasn't going to start off the season. So why are you giving him a contract? Why on God's green earth did Paul George get a max contract at 35 years old? First of all, his body isn't the same. His body isn't the same. He has regressed mightily since last season. He can't shoot. He's inconsistent. I mean, I'm watching him. He can't even make free throws in a row. 2 free throws in a row.
Because, listen, unfortunately, Paul George needs to just get off the podcast a little bit. focus a little more on basketball. But you've obviously seen he's taking a step down. He's
We're
not the
not
Paul
even
George that was in Oklahoma, the Paul George that was with the Pacers.
right.
This is now.
And the thing is, the problem is, right? Nick Nurse has an obsession of playing these older guys instead of the young guys. Let the young guys develop. You're 17 and 26. You're not
Play
making
Ricky
a
Council. Play a Dembona.
You're
Play
right.
your young guys. But
Exactly.
you're sitting out here with 38-year-old Kyle Lowry and Team Bahamas legend Eric Gordon. You're not going to win basketball games. You're going to waste more and more. This season's over. Let's face it. They're not going to win the finals. They're
They're
probably
not even
not
making
going
the
to
playoffs.
play-in.
They're not even making it out of the first round. So
Even if they get in the play-in, I don't think they win. So now you're at the point where right now, being that young talent, whether it's McCain's hurt, so he can't play.
I would have not now, but in the future, I would have loved to have McCain play the whole season and let him grow more.
Him and Maxey next to each other is scary. It's really scary.
Right.
Because then you could have such a 1-2 combo. I think Paul George is just not a good fit.
No, he was a bad fit.
It's a bad fit there.
It was great for the first, but now it's just bad. But I gotta ask, who is your conference finals this year with the East and the West?
For the East, I feel it's a really basic pick. Cavs, Celtics, they're the two best teams in the East.
There's only like 3 solid teams in the Eastern Conference who can contend.
And I'm not counting the Knicks as solid. I think the Knicks are so fraudulent.
Yeah, I think so too.
Listen, when Tibbs plays guys 45 minutes a game, it's really unfortunate.
What about the West?
The West, there's no other thought I have right now where it's not the Thunder's year.
Yeah.
I have to pick the Thunder. And then if I'm going for another team in the conference, I mean, they have a good record, so I don't think it's blown out of proportion too much. I got to go Memphis. I think Taylor Jenkins is the most underrated head coach in basketball.
I do too. But
Taylor Jenkins develops those guys like crazy.
I would challenge you this. If they can figure it out, the Nuggets are going to the finals again.
If they can figure it out, well, the bench unit's ridiculously bad.
It is. But
when you have Westbrook in the starting lineup, it's weird. They play better. They play better with Russell Westbrook orchestrating the offense and Jamal Murray.
They need another. I feel like what they're missing. They're missing a guy like KCP. They were so good the past 2 years because they had a wing.
They need a glue guy who could play fantastic 3-and-D. That's
and they don't have like
Christian
another
Braun's not doing that.
shooter.
Christian Braun's not a great shooter.
Yeah,
his defense is subpar at best.
Right.
I don't think you could fit Julian Strother into that role because he's really not a 2.
Exactly.
And if you put Westbrook and Murray on the floor together, it's not good. We've seen it this season.
But Westbrook and Jokic are a very good combination.
It's weird. It's really fucking weird
that
they play so well together.
But they've had games where they both had triple doubles in the same game.
Yeah. You have Michael Porter Jr. You have Aaron Gordon. You got to have guys who play around them, and when come playoff time, around, not playing at will. I mean, they need to go in the trade deadline and just look at guys from other teams.
They're definitely going to be buyers at the deadline.
I just have to think of players in this instance. Maybe look at Gary Trent Jr. coming off the bench.
Bring him back? Oh, wait, no.
No, I don't think he played for Denver, no.
No, I'm thinking about someone else. Sorry.
I think a guy like Gary Trent. Here's a weird one. Here's one I really like for this one. How about AJ Green from Milwaukee?
I actually like him.
I really like him. If he goes to Denver, he's not a great defensive player by any means, but the guy could shoot the lights out.
Yeah.
And you put that in your starting lineup, and you move Christian Braun to the bench. I know that's not the most attractive thing, but if you move Christian Braun to the bench, this team would be pretty solid.
Maybe this team isn't great right now, but if they're selling at the deadline, the Suns with Grayson Allen, knockdown shooter.
Grayson Allen, I don't think they sell though. I think Phoenix is obsessed with the idea that they're going to end up going to the finals, which I just don't ever see happening in Phoenix.
If they do sell, I would go after Grayson Allen. He's a phenomenal shooter. His defense is above average, and he's a long-term contract, and he would fit well with Jokic in that office. So, moving on to the final segment of the show where I do my top 5 of the week. This top 5 of the week is my top 5 sports championships and professional sports championships. So I want to hear your 5 first, and then I'll give my 5.
You don't want to go 5 by 5, or we're going to go straight?
It's just 5. It's
1 through 5.
from 5 to 1. So it's
All right,
5
I
to
actually
1.
gotta think about this for a second. Hold on.
If you're gonna think, then I'll go first.
Yeah, please.
So if I'll go first. So my top 5 of the week: the professionals championship sports games or events. I think number 5, in my opinion, the first one I go, the Stanley Cup Finals. Stanley Cup
Up
Finals
my list.
is I'm not a big hockey fan, but I think the Stanley Cup Finals is a great finals. I watched it last year. It was a lot of drama last year, but it could be a great finals with
McDavid and the Panthers.
with two good teams.
Connor McDavid played outstanding in that
He
finals last
did.
year.
He did. He played outstanding, and they were down 3-0. I looked over, and he said, "No, it's not over yet." If you have a good team and a superstar, and you can market that, and that's what the NHL did. They marketed the hell out of
I've
it.
got into hockey recently, so
Yeah,
I'm enjoying it a little more and more.
right. If you can market it, you can market it the right way. It's a good event. Number 4, I'm going the World Series, a
Okay.
classic American tradition, in my opinion, the Fall Classic. Last year, it was marketed to perfection with the Dodgers and the Yankees. If you can get
Perfect.
two, if you can get two historic franchises like that in a World Series, it's going to blow up, and
Because
everyone's
like
going to be
the
watching.
ratings aren't going to be there with the Texas Rangers and the Arizona
Right,
Diamondbacks. No matter they're having some of the best years of their franchise history, but no one really wants to watch that. Let's be
right.
honest.
If you have two franchises with two superstars and Judge and Otani, you're going to blow up at their ratings and the views. So and it was a good series. I thought I know we watched it and they collapsed. The Yankees collapsed, but it's a great.
Okay.
I think it's a great it's a great event and it's a great World Series. It's always good. It's perfect timing. It's right around October when NBA and the NFL is in its the NFL is in its prime and the NBA is starting up, and I think it's a great event. Number 3, I'm going with the NBA Finals. No,
I don't have the NBA Finals on my list.
ooh, interesting. Really?
Yeah.
No, recently, yes. They were NBA
If we're
Finals.
in that LeBron versus Curry Warriors final era, it would
Yeah,
undoubtedly probably be 2 for me.
that's
But
true. That's true. That's true. I think the NBA Finals, as of recent, has gone down because like it's just not marketed the way it used to be with LeBron and Steph and the Warriors, right? But even before LeBron and Steph, those finals were great with Bron and the Heat and Kobe with the late tens era teams with him and Powell and those Spurs teams. I felt like the NBA hasn't
those
marketed.
Spurs teams were so good, but they
Yeah,
never get any appreciation.
right.
Oni and Manu and Timmy D and like that one team though in 20 with Kawhi and Tiago Splitter and Danny Green, that those Spurs teams, those were kind of part of my childhood. I'm kind of
I
happy that they were
yeah,
so like nonchalant.
it is. It is one of those underappreciated dynasties in the NBA. But I just feel like the NBA hasn't marketed the finals as they once did previously before. Because man, I used to remember, it was like I was fifth, sixth, seventh grade, or even before that, coming home and waiting till like 7:30 on a June right before school's ending, and you're
Yeah,
watching LeBron cook up against one of the best teams ever. But it's just not the same anymore. I mean, last finals was a beatdown. The year before that, it was a beatdown. And 22 was good with the Warriors and the Celtics.
that was the last finals that I thoroughly enjoyed. Like I felt
Yeah,
like I knew Jokic was going to win it in
right.
23. We knew
Yeah,
Boston was going to
this
win
is
it. No
doing
offense to
24.
Luca, but
Right. Yeah, and 21 was even a great finals too with the Bucks and the Suns. That was a
that was
phenomenal
great.
finals.
That was great.
But the last 2 years, I feel like it just hasn't been really good matchups because the other, who's going to win. And the NBA hasn't really marketed it like they used to before. So number 2, I have to go the Super Bowl. Hopefully,
Wow.
my number 2 is the Super Bowl. Yeah,
Okay. All right. Just go to number 1 because I don't want to hear number 1 then.
World Cup.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
respectable.
World Cup's number 1, but the
All
Super
right.
Bowl is the biggest event in American sports in America. The biggest game in American sports. That's not a fact. It's just not. It's not. Not. It's a fact.
Yeah. All right. I conducted this list. It may be a little scrappy, but here we go. My 5 through 1. Number 5 is going to be the NCAA basketball championship game, the end of March Madness. I think just all the emotions there after you fight all season to get to that spot. I think it's magnificent. I think, we've seen recently, like years prior, like I remember like, UConn's kind of dominating. I don't think UConn gets there this year. They've struggled. They're 13-5 this year. They're in like that
Yeah.
middle pack of the top 25. I don't think they're the best team in the Big East. I think it's St. John's personally. But like in years prior, when I was like in middle school,
That was the
if
best
you're
time.
not running, when you're not running home every Thursday night and Friday night watching March Madness, I don't know what you were doing.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my gosh, I remember those days.
Number 4, I agree with you. It's the World Series. I'm not a really massive baseball fan myself, but because I'm big on college football, NFL, NBA, college basketball. But the events of the World Series, the emotions, how it's played, I enjoy it. I thoroughly do, and it's always a good time. And this year, especially with Dodgers and Yankees, like if you get the Mets in there, hopefully soon, that'd be really fun. Get the Phillies, get the Braves. I want to see some badass teams because the AL kind of sucks ass.
It
AL
is.
sucks.
AL is pretty bad. My God.
Besides the Yankees, and hopefully the Royals can continue. I don't really buy Boston going into the year with all the offseason moves they've made.
I think Boston might be actually
The Guardians have regressed. The Astros have regressed. The Rangers are. I don't have a verdict about the Rangers.
We're not the same anymore.
They're really not, but I don't really know what's up there. All right, going to my number 3. Here's one that you didn't have on your list: the Masters, PGA.
Yeah, that's a good one. Okay,
I played golf 4 years of high school. I always keep up with professional golf. Outside basketball and football, I could probably talk to you about golf the most. But the Masters, it's compared to any other tournament they have. The emotions of winning the Masters and wearing that green jacket at the end, everyone wants it. And especially the last couple of years. The year Jon Rahm won, I was in amazement. When Tiger Woods won it, Phil Mickelson, Rory McIlroy, they all win it. Like, it's just the emotion, all the pressure in the world. Like, these guys have ice in their veins every single year. So the Masters, undoubtedly one of my favorite events. Number 2 and number 1 are the same. You have them reversing the order. 2 is World Cup, 1 is Super Bowl.
Ooh, okay.
It's just because I enjoy the Super Bowl more because I'm American. That's just the point. But yeah.
I think the Super Bowl is the Super Bowl is always going to be the biggest day for America because everyone's watching the game, no matter if you like football or not. Everyone's going to be tuned in for the halftime show.
Yeah. Kendrick this year, I'm excited for that.
Yeah, Kendrick, no matter if you're a sports fan or not, you're going to be watching the game, especially the commercials, because people invest millions and millions of dollars to put their commercial on television that day. It's always a fun event, but this year it's going to be, if my Eagles are in it, the only thing that's going to matter is the game.
Yeah.
The only thing, and if your Bills are in it too.
Bills, Eagles.
And the only thing matters is the game. I don't care about the commercials. I don't care about the halftime show. I care about the game. Nothing else. And if it is Bills Eagles, me and you are we're not speaking for 2 weeks. We're not speaking for 2 weeks. We're not speaking for 2 weeks.
Because I think it's going to end up happening. Listen, Makali, I enjoy talking sports with you more than probably anyone I've met here at William Patterson. Because with me and you, I feel like we have elite ball knowledge.
We do.
Absolutely. I'm sick and tired of these casuals I went to high school with, the casuals at my place of employment. They can't get deep into it. I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I love talking sports with Matt. I think he's one of the best that I know with elite ball knowledge. He gives a great analysis on anything and everything. You guys can once again check him out on the radio show 88.7 at William Patterson. I'll be on there on Wednesdays, and it was great for another episode for Timeout with Makali. Please do not forget to subscribe, leave a comment, and follow the show on Apple Podcast and on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.